All right, what is going on, everyone? To all my subscribers, may all be well. Anyone joining, may all be well, even though I know not all the time everything is well. And this video, I really want y'all to hear me out in this video because I don't think a lot of us ever think about the bad side of life or the bad things that go on, and we're always so focused. And I'm not saying this to bring you down or depress you or throw you off in your life and hurt you. I'm not doing it for that reason. But when these things do come, I would like to think that you would be prepared for some of them, because bad things will come to a lot of people. It's not always peaches and cream. It's not always Candyland, and great all the time. But in this video, I just really want you to reflect on yourself in this video. As you're listening to what I'm saying, reflect on your own thoughts in your own mind. And I want you to really think about this. I'm going to name this something like Life is Cruel or The Cruelty of Life. I don't know exactly how I'm going to name it, but I'll name it something like that. But I was watching a couple videos on YouTube the last 2 days, and I've just been seeing how cruel nature really is and how cruel it is for animals in the wild, and how they have to eat each other and how they have to tear each other apart and how they have to die while they're alive. And then people getting killed in tsunamis, hundreds of people, excuse me, getting killed in these tsunamis and these floods and these hurricanes and so many other things that I'm not even mentioning. And it's just, the more that I see things for what they are, I just see more and more and more cruelty. And it just really makes me ask questions like, I know some of you don't think that there is a God at all. I know some of you think that there is, but you don't know what's going on, like me. And then you may think that there is a God. But here's what you have to ask yourself. If there is this God that made all of this and made all these things to be, why did he have to make it? Why did God, if I say he, that's because I'm used to the God of the Bible, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, the Father. But why would God make things so cruel and so bloody and so violent and so savage? Why? Why would God make it that animals have to rip each other's faces off and have to kill them while they're alive and brutally do this to each other? They can't survive unless they eat each other. That's the cruelty of it. And then I look at these tsunamis and these earthquakes and all of these things happening, and it just all has to do with death, bloodshed, violence, and so many other bad things that happen. And I just sit here and wonder. That's why I tell myself, that's why I doubt God. I doubt, because I say, how could you allow that to be? Why would you allow it to be in the first place? And then see, this is what, and don't get offended, but this is what Christians and religious people will do. They will defend God and say that it's our fault that we fell in the first place. It's our fault that Eve took an apple off of a tree and bit it and gave some to Adam, and then we all fell. And then the ladies have to have painful childbirth, and the men has to labor for the rest of his days. and all that. It's just God already knew these things if God is God. You know, if God didn't want that to happen, then why did you put the tree there in the first place? Then why did you tempt man and women and say, oh, you can have every tree except for this one tree you can't eat from? Now you know how we are as humans. If you tell us that we can't have something, we are going to want that thing, and we are going to want to lust after that thing, and we are going to be humans with our impulses and our negativities and our obsessive thoughts and all that. You know, it's human nature. And I really like, if you never seen the movie The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves, go to touch but don't taste, taste but don't swallow part with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino. You know, he says in there, who are you carrying all them bricks for? God? Like, you know, it's like we all use the devil and Satan as our scapegoat. You know, we all use these bad things as the blame or our enemy, but we're really not seeing that these bad things were here all along for us. We couldn't escape the bad things. We couldn't escape the cruelty. We couldn't escape none of that, because humans were going to be humans regardless, and animals are going to be animals regardless. They're going to be predators, and they're going to rip each other to shreds. They're going to rip off each other's faces. You know, I watched this video with these crocodiles where this crocodile was holding this zebra in the water for like 10 minutes. And then finally this crocodile came up and it bit its face and it started twisting around and it ripped this zebra apart in like seconds. And I'm just sitting there watching like, my God, if you are real, how or why would you make this like this? And see, this is where I doubt God. This is where I say, if there is a God, then God has to be cruel. God has to allow cruelty. There's no other way around it. God did not have to make it this way in the first place, is what I'm saying. God did not have to make it so that we die. God did not have to make it so that we go through suffering and pain. God did not have to make it like this if there is a God. See, this is my problem with God. This is my problem with the whole we fell from grace thing, and it's all of our fault, and we are the sinners to blame. This is where that whole thing falls apart for me. With the whole religion thing and everything, it just completely falls apart. But then at the same time, this is the weird thing about it. I'm not an atheist. Like, you know, how crazy is that? I'm not an atheist and I'm not a believer, and, you know, I don't go for all that stuff. But then at the same time, I say, well, after everything that I've seen in my life and everything that I witnessed and everything that I am still witnessing on a daily basis, with these riots going on and with people killing each other because of their color and people bombing people that they don't even know and just killing people for no reason, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, the San Francisco earthquake that killed so many people, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. There's just so much bloodshed and violence. And God is just watching all of this happen. You know, it's like, if I was a God, I would have never made this like this in the first place. But it's our fault. You see, but it's our fault. You know, man has a choice. You know, sometimes I really wonder about this choice thing. And I do think that, yes, I do have a choice. I do have a choice whether I'm going to do good or do bad, or I'm going to do the right thing or the wrong thing, or I'm going to do someone dirty or not do them dirty, or if I'm going to do this or that. I think I do have a choice, but with these impulses and this pride and this ego and everything that we are born with and that a lot of people naturally have, and then to let it happen, it's like, well, then why let us be born into that? Why couldn't it have been different? These are the questions that I ask myself, and nobody has the answers for this. I don't have the answer. You don't have the answer. Nobody has the answer. And anyone that says that they do, they are liars. They don't have the answer for nothing. They don't know anything. So I just sit here and ask myself this. It's like tsunamis, earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, famine, war, animals killing each other. We don't think about that stuff because it's not happening to us, you see. It's not going on in our backyard right now. But picture you being that animal and you being out in the wild. See, we don't think about this. Put ourselves in someone else's shoes for once. Put yourselves in the shoes of a starving child that their bellies are bloated and there's flies flying on them and laying eggs in their skin, and their skin and bone, and they're crying because they're hungry and they're hurting and they're in pain. We don't see this stuff because we are being fed. And this is why I say, America, I don't even really know how to say it, but we are so ungrateful and so unthankful, but then see, I go back to blaming God for this. See, it's really weird. Then I start blaming God again, because why did it have to be this way in the first place? You see, it all goes back to God, or if there is a God, or if there isn't a God, then this thing is still cruel. It's still cruel, and it's still bloody and messy and violent, and it just is what it is. You can use every excuse you want to use, but you're not going to be able to get past the fact that it is what it is. Just look at your history and look at the things that just have happened in the last 70, 80 years since World War II. Just look at all the bloodshed and all the violence. And then we're screaming peace, and we're screaming all this stuff that it's just so hypocritical. That's not reality. Reality is not fair and it's cruel, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be that, because you don't have to be that. And I have made a choice in my own life to not be that anymore, because I have done cruel things. When I was younger, I was a cruel child. I did some cruel things that I am ashamed of. But today, I'm not ashamed, because I'm not doing them things anymore. And I seen them for what they were. And I ask myself this, and if there is a God, why did I have to do those cruel things in order for me to see that I was being cruel or to change my way? Why did I have to do that in the first place? Why does a man or woman have to kill another man or woman in order for them to repent or change? Why does a woman have to get raped or something bad have to happen for someone to see that they were doing this horrible thing? Until they get caught, and I'm just using them as an example. They're not the only bad ones, because we're all capable of being bad and doing horrible things. But when these Nazis got caught, then they wanted to say, I'm like Albert Speer. He said, oh, I'm sorry. The Nazi that said sorry. If he would have never got caught, I don't think he would have ever said that. He would have kept doing what he was doing. He would have kept running the camps. He would have kept supplying the armaments for Nazi Germany. It would have never stopped. And see, it's always till we get caught. Until we get caught in the act, then that's when we change. And see, I got caught in the act doing some things and some things I didn't. But when I did certain things that I did, a shame came over me like no other. I felt naked and ashamed and guilty, and the blood rushed to my face, and I said, oh my goodness, what did I do? Why did I do that? And this is where I go back to God all the time. This is where I go back to the essence of, if he did create this, or God did create this, then really he's to blame. God's to blame for it. See, this is where we don't want to dig deep into the subject on this. If he didn't want it this way, or God didn't want it this way, then why not make us, just don't make us with impulses. Don't make us with the ability to be violent. Don't make us with this cruelty that we have. This cruelty that is reality. It's real. It goes on every day in nature. All the time. 24/7. It does not stop. And if there is a God, then God is allowing it to be. And this is where I kind of just like gave up on trying to save the world or save humanity, because it's like, why would you make it like this in the first place? Like, I don't want to have to save people. I don't mind helping people, but I know that I can't do too much for humanity. I can't change another man or woman's mind. I can't really make the world better. You know, just speaking a couple words, that's not going to change people. People are still going to be cruel, and they're going to have these bad thoughts, and they're going to do things that is going to cause bloodshed and drama and hurt and pain and suffering, because they are probably suffering, and they are probably in pain, and they probably had cruel things done to them. So it's why they're probably doing it. Maybe not all the time, but sometimes. And I don't endorse it at all. I don't endorse violence. I don't endorse pain and suffering. I'm this utopia kind of guy. You know, I want to be eating this fruit that's awesome and laying back in my chair. You know, that's great. And enjoying myself and enjoying the people around me. And we're all in the same sound mind, so to speak. You know, that's what kind of guy I am. But I realize that it's not like that. This is not heaven. This is not utopia. This is earth. And reality is cruel. It is cold. It is calculated. It does not care about the other thing that it is hurting. And a lot of people do not see that, and a lot of people do. So it ain't going to stop. If humans are being born, it's never going to stop. That's all there is to it. And then I ask, well, Jesus and God says that they're coming back and stopping all of this. Well, if you stop this, then you're stopping our will and our choice. But yet you made us with these wills and choices to do these horrible, horrific things. So why did you do it in the first place if you're real? So this is where my doubt and my pointing the finger and blaming comes from. But then on the other hand, I am grateful and I am thankful for the small things. And I'm in this mind frame where I say it could be a lot worse than what it is. And I'm constantly reminding myself of this. But then I see these things for what they really are. And then I don't know. It's just like the circle jerk of life. And that's why I tell everyone on here, just do what it is that you like to do. And feel as good as you can. Like, why the suffering? Why the pain? Why the torment? Why the agony? Why the cruel nature? You know? But I'm not God, and I'm not trying to be like God or sound like God or any of that. I'm only a human. But there's just too many things that make me think with the ability that I have with my own brain. And it just won't allow me to accept certain things because I see things for what they really are. And there's so many of us, we're not really thinking about reality. We are thinking of a dream. We're living a dream. We're thinking that, you know, all these good things are always going to happen and everything's going to be swell. Well, sorry to rip off that facade, but that's not how it's always going to be. And I don't want it to be like that. I don't want it to be like that, but that's how it's going to be in life while we're here. So that's it on that topic. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, hit the like so I can get out on the algorithm more. I have to say this to remind y'all. Thank you for watching the video. The SBN lifestyle here. If you're looking for raw and real talks, then go to my other videos. It's just pure expression of me giving it to you raw and real. So I'll see y'all. I'll talk with y'all. Till then, you have a choice. Later.